In 47 species cultures, drawing a knife means someone is about to die. The human girl just smiled and asked why everyone looked so nervous. You know what nobody tells you about attending an interspecies academy? That ordinary days do not exist. Not really. Someone always does something stupid. Someone always breaks a rule they did not know existed. And someone always ends up in the medical wing because they ate something that was poison to their particular biology. Standard stuff, right? Wrong. I am Vexthor. Colarian. 4 arms, decent eyesight. Terrible sense of humor according to my roommate, and absolutely not prepared for what happened in advanced quantum mathematics that day. But let me back up a second because context matters, and you need to understand just how painfully normal everything was before it all went sideways. The classroom looked like every other classroom on Station Harmony, sterile, gray, filled with desks that accommodated at least 15 different body types, and sporting that weird smell that all shared spaces get when you cram too many species into one ventilation system. Professor Krylineth, a Vaxian with more patience than sense, was droning on about probability matrices. Honestly, I was not paying attention. Nobody was paying attention. This was 4th period on a station's standard Tuesday. We were all just trying to survive until lunch. To my left sat Jackson, a Thorian whose carapace kept clicking against his chair. Annoying, but what are you going to do? Behind me, I could hear the soft humming of Prilia, a sentient who hummed when she was nervous, which was always, so the humming never stopped. Ever. 3 rows up sat Corvin and his cluster of Drexian friends, passing notes and trying not to get caught. Standard classroom nonsense. Boring. Safe. Predictable. And then there was Riley Torres, human, female, sitting 2 desks to my right, slouched in her chair like she was melting into it. Hair tied up in something humans call a ponytail, completely focused on doodling in the margins of her datapad instead of taking notes. The doodles were pretty good, actually. Little ships and stars and what looked like some kind of earth creature with too many teeth. Creative. Weird. Harmless. That is what I thought about Riley Torres. Harmless. Oh, how catastrophically wrong I was. See, humans had only been part of the galactic community for about 8 cycles. Still new, still figuring things out. Most species were cautious around them because, well, Earth had a reputation. Deathworld. Category 12. The kind of place where everything wants to kill you and somehow the dominant species not only survived but thrived. But Riley? She seemed fine. Quiet. Kept to herself mostly. Smiled a lot, which was unsettling because humans show their teeth when they are happy. But you get used to it. She never caused problems, never started fights, never did anything to make anyone nervous. She was just there. Background noise. Part of the classroom ecosystem. Professor Krylineth was gesturing at the holo display with 2 of his 6 tentacles, explaining something about wave function collapse that I should have been writing down but was not. Jax Morga's carapace clicked. Krylineth hummed. Someone in the back coughed, which turned into a weird whistle because their respiratory system was built different. Normal. Boring. Safe. I remembered glancing at Riley right before it happened. She was smiling at her datapad, that little human smile that did not show teeth, the one that meant she was content, peaceful, even. Her posture screamed relaxation, 0 tension, 0 concern, just a student sitting in a classroom, waiting for class to end so she could go do whatever humans do during lunch break, probably eat something that would kill half the station's population. Everything was fine, everything was perfectly, completely, utterly fine. And then Thalkin stood up. Now Thalakin was a Kralix. Big species. Heavy worlders. Not quite Deathworld level, but close enough that they thought they were tough. All scales and muscle and attitude. He sat in the back corner, always brooding, always looking like someone had personally offended him just by existing. Most of us avoided him. Smart policy. Keep your head down, do not make eye contact. Survive the semester. But apparently survival was not on the menu today. The scrape of his chair against the floor cut through Professor Krylineth's lecture like a blade through flesh. Everyone froze. You do not just stand up in the middle of class on a multi-species station. You raise your hand, you signal, you follow protocol. Standing up without permission, that is aggression. That is a statement. Thalkin did not care about statements. He was making a declaration. His hand, clawed and thick, reached into his vest. My hearts, both of them, started hammering. Please be a datapad. Please be a communicator. Please be anything except what I knew it was going to be. It was not a datapad. The blade came out smooth, practiced, ceremonial, curved, gleaming, about as long as my forearm and etched with markings that I did not need to read to understand. Combat blade. Traditional. The kind you only drew when you meant to use it. Oh no. Oh no 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 no. Professor Krillineth's tentacles went rigid. His speaking voice cut off mid-sentence, replaced by a choking sound that Vaxians make when they are terrified. Jax Morgus' carapace clicking went into overdrive, a machine gun rhythm of pure panic. Krillia's humming turned into a high-pitched whine that hurt my ear slits. And everyone else? They ran. Not metaphorically, actually ran. Desks screeched, chairs toppled. Venik Aprulian, who sat near the door, straight up bolted into the hallway without looking back. 2 Drexians tried to fit through the door at the same time and got stuck for 3 horrifying seconds before popping through like a cork from a bottle. I wanted to run. Every instinct in my body screamed to run. But my legs would not move. Frozen. Locked. Useless. Because here is what you need to understand. Drawing a blade in public. That is not just rude. That is not just illegal. In 47 known species cultures, that is a death challenge. A formal, binding, absolutely no take-backs declaration that someone is about to die. You draw a blade. You use a blade. That is the rule. That is the law. That is how wars start. Thalken held it high, light glinting off the edge, and his eyes, those cold reptilian eyes, scanned the classroom. Looking for someone, hunting for a target. My brain was screaming. My body was betraying me. I could not move, could not breathe, could not think beyond the primal terror of sharp object equals death, equals run equals, why are my legs not working? And then, by the void, Thalken's eyes locked onto Riley. No, 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 not the human. Anything but the human. Humans were new, humans were protected. Humans were supposed to be kept safe because if a human died on the station, the Earth government would lose their minds and possibly declare war, and none of us wanted that kind of galactic incident on our transcripts. But Thalken pointed the blade at her. Directly at her. The universal gesture of challenge, of threat, of intent to kill. I wanted to scream. I wanted to warn her. I wanted to do something, anything. Riley looked up from her datapad. She blinked once, twice, glanced at the knife, glanced at Thalken, glanced back at the knife, and smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a scared smile, not even a concerned smile. A smile that said she had just noticed something midly interesting, like someone had told a joke that was not quite funny enough to laugh at, but was worth acknowledging. She smiled at the death challenge like it was a minor interruption. What? The actual void. Thalken's chest inflated. His scales rippled with what I can only describe as smug satisfaction. He thought he had her. He thought the human was too stupid to understand what was happening. He raised the blade higher, catching the light, making sure everyone who had not already fled could see it, making sure Riley could see it. Human, he hissed, and his voice carried that particular tone that predators use right before they strike. You have disrespected me for the last time. Your presence insults my lineage. Your weakness disgusts my ancestors. I challenge you here, now, before witnesses. He gestured with the blade, a formal movement that sealed the challenge in about 30 different legal frameworks. Face me or be marked as a coward for all time, and let your family name carry the shame across the stars. Okay. So dramatic much? Yes. But also terrifying, because Thalken was not playing. This was real. This was happening. This was a genuine, formal, absolutely binding death challenge in the middle of 4th period math class. Professor Krillineth had backed himself against the wall, tentacles curled in, trying to become invisible. The few students who had not escaped were pressed into corners, trembling. I was still frozen at my desk, all 4 of my hands gripping the edges so hard I thought I might break something, possibly my own fingers. And Riley? Riley set down her stylus, carefully, deliberately, like she had all the time in the world. Disrespected you? She said, and her voice was so calm it made my skin crawl. When? Thalken's eyes narrowed. You mock me with your question. No, seriously. Riley leaned back in her chair, still sitting, still relaxed. I have literally never spoken to you. Not once. I do not even know your name, dude. Dude. She called him dude. While he was holding a knife, while he was issuing a death challenge. Dude, you sit in my presence and act as though I do not exist, Falcon snarled. You ignore my status. You dismiss my heritage. This is an insult that demands blood. Riley's eyebrows went up, just a little. So, let me get this straight. You are mad because I did not pay attention to you. She paused. That is the dumbest reason to stab someone I have heard all week. And trust me, I have heard some dumb reasons. My brain broke. Just stopped functioning. She was sassing him. The human was sassing the armed Kralix who had just issued a formal death challenge. This was not happening. This could not be happening. This violated every survival instinct known to sentient life. Falcon's scales flushed darker. Anger. Pure, unfiltered rage. You will show respect, or you will die. Riley stood up. Just stood up. Casual. Easy. Like she was getting up to stretch, not facing someone who wanted to kill her. Quick question though. That knife, is that supposed to scare me? It is a ceremonial blade of the Kralix warrior caste, forged in the fires of... Cool story, Riley interrupted, and started walking toward him. Actually walking. Toward him. But see, here is the thing. I could not breathe. Nobody could breathe. Even Prelia's humming had stopped, which I did not think was biologically possible. Riley was walking toward the knife, toward certain death. Humans were supposed to be intelligent. This was not intelligent. This was suicide. This was insanity. Falcon held his ground, blade ready, clearly not expecting her to actually approach. His posture shifted, preparing to strike. You accept the challenge then, human? You choose death over dishonor. Oh, I do not accept anything, Riley said, still walking, still smiling. I just think we should clarify something before you embarrass yourself. I will not be— That is a knife, Riley continued, stopping about 2 meters away from him. Well within striking distance. On my planet we give knives to children. Actual children. Like 8-year-olds. We let them cut their own food with knives. We use knives to open packages. Knives are kitchen tools. Falcon's blade wavered. Just a fraction. You lie. Nope. Riley's smile widened, showing teeth now. I have had a knife in my backpack since day one. Want to see it? It has got a bottle opener on it. Super handy. The classroom had gone completely silent. Even the ventilation system seemed to have stopped humming. This was not how death challenges worked. This was not how any of this worked. You either fought, or you fled, or you died. You did not explain cutlery habits. You mock me, Falcon said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. Little bit, yeah, Riley admitted. But here is the thing you maybe should have researched before pulling this stunt. She took another step closer. Falcon actually stepped back. He stepped back. I am from Earth. Category 12. Deathworld. I grew up with animals that could eat you in 3 bites. I have been chased by predators you could not pronounce. I have survived weather that would freeze your blood solid and heat that would boil it. And you think a knife is scary. Her eyes, human eyes, locked onto his. And I swear by the void, I saw Falcon flinch. So here is what is going to happen, Riley said softly. You are going to put that knife away. You are going to sit down. And we are all going to pretend this never happened. Sound good? Falcon's hand tightened on the blade. I have issued the challenge. I cannot withdraw. Sure you can, Riley said. Watch. And then she moved. I blinked. That was it. One blink. Maybe half a second. And when my eyes opened again, everything had changed. Riley had the knife. Not Falcon. Riley. The human was holding the ceremonial blade like it was a ruler, examining it with mild interest while Falcon was on the floor. Literally on the floor. Face down. One arm twisted behind his back at an angle that looked painful but probably was not quite broken. Probably. His other arm was stretched out in front of him, palm flat against the ground in what I recognized as a submission posture. 3 seconds. Maybe less. I did not even see her move. None of us saw her move. One moment she was standing there talking, the next moment she had disarmed a trained Kralix warrior and put him on the ground like he was a misbehaving pet. Huh, Riley said, turning the knife over in her hand. This is actually pretty nice. Decent balance. Little heavy for my taste, but the edge is sharp. You take care of your stuff. Props for that. Falcon made a sound. Something between a groan and a whimper. His scales had gone pale, which I did not know Kralik scales could do. Oh, sorry, Riley said, not sounding sorry at all. Is your arm uncomfortable? My bad. She shifted her foot slightly. Thalken gasped. Better? No? How about now? Another shift. There we go. See, communication is important. You should have tried that before the whole knife thing. My brain was trying to process what had just happened and failing spectacularly. Humans were not supposed to be fighters. They were durable, sure, resilient, but not fast, not combat-trained, not capable of taking down a Kralik's warrior in the time it takes to blink. That was not in any of the human information packets. That was not in the species briefings. That was not possible. So, Riley continued, still holding the knife, still standing over Thalken like this was a completely normal situation. We learned something today. Anyone want to guess what it was? Silence. Nobody was going to answer that. Nobody was capable of answering that. We were all too busy trying to restart our higher brain functions. No guesses? Okay, I will tell you. She crouched down, bringing herself closer to Thalken's eye level. The lesson is this. Do not threaten people with knives unless you are absolutely 100% certain they do not know 17 different ways to take it away from you. Because, spoiler alert, I know way more than 17. How? Thalken managed to wheeze out. How did you practice? Riley said simply. Lots and lots of practice. Earth is not a nice place, remember? We have to learn this stuff young. Self-defense classes start at age 6 where I am from. By 12 most kids can handle themselves in a fight. By 16 we are basically walking weapons. It is just how we survive. She paused. Well, that and we invented pepper spray, and tasers, and guns. But those are not allowed on the station, so we make do with hand-to-hand. She stood up, still holding the knife, and looked around the classroom. Her eyes found Professor Kryleneth, who was still pressed against the wall. Sorry about the disruption, Professor. I will take this to security. We can resume the lesson on probability matrices, which, by the way, I was actually paying attention to. The doodles helped me focus. Professor Kryleneth's translator was struggling. Apparently, even technology could not process what had just happened. Cool, thanks. Riley stepped over Thalken, who had not moved from his position on the floor, and started walking toward the door. That was when security burst in. 3 of them. Full tactical gear. Stun batons ready. Looking around for the threat, they found Riley, holding a knife standing over a prone Kralik surrounded by terrified students. Oh hey, Riley said brightly. Perfect timing. This guy, she pointed at Thalken with the knife, casual as anything, issued a death challenge. I declined, he insisted. I took his knife. Here you go. She flipped the blade around, offering the handle to the nearest security officer. You will want to file this under attempted assault, I think. Maybe add in reckless endangerment, disrupting a class, whatever else applies. The security officer took the knife like it might explode. His eyes went from the knife to Riley, to Thalken, to the rest of us, trying to piece together what had happened. She is telling the truth. I heard myself say, surprised that my voice worked. He challenged her. She defended herself. Defended, the security officer repeated slowly. Yep, Riley said. Also, can someone help him up? I think his pride is more hurt than his body, but you should probably check anyway. I was gentle. Mostly gentle. She called that gentle. What in the name of the void was rough? The security team moved in, 2 of them helping Thalken to his feet, while the third kept staring at Riley like she might suddenly sprout additional limbs, which, given what we had just witnessed, seemed entirely possible. Thalken was muttering something in his native language, but his translator had either shut off or given up. Probably given up. I would have. Everyone remain calm, the lead security officer said, which was hilarious because Calm had left the building about 5 minutes ago and was not coming back. We will need statements from witnesses. Can we do that after class? Riley asked, checking her datapad. We have like 20 minutes left, and I actually need to understand this probability stuff for the exam next week, after class. She wanted to finish class. After disarming someone. After putting a Kralik's warrior on the floor. After demonstrating that humans were apparently capable of moving faster than my eyes could track. She wanted to finish math class. Professor Kryleneth made a sound like a deflating balloon. Class is, we should perhaps, yes, class, right, math. His tentacles were still shaking, but he was trying. Give him credit for trying. Everyone, please, return to your seats. If you can. If you are able. Security, please remove Thalken from the premises. The students who had fled were starting to creep back in, peeking around the doorframe like prey animals checking if the predator had left. Spoiler alert, the predator was still here. She just happened to look like a 5'6" human girl with a ponytail. Riley sat back down at her desk like nothing had happened, picked up her stylus, went back to doodling. I stared at her. Everyone stared at her. She did not seem to notice or care. Security dragged Thalken out. He was walking, barely, but his legs looked wobbly. His expression was somewhere between shock and existential crisis. Could not blame him. If someone had told me that humans could do that, I would have laughed. Now I was having my own existential crisis. Right, Professor Krillineth said weakly. Where were we? Ah yes. Wave function collapse and observer effect. The probability of an outcome existing in multiple states until measured, he trailed off. Although perhaps that metaphor is less theoretical than I thought. Nobody laughed. Nobody was capable of laughter. We were all too busy trying to remember how to breathe. Class limped to its conclusion. I did not retain a single word. My notes from those last 20 minutes were just scribbles, meaningless shapes. My hands were still shaking, all four of them, and my minds, plural, were racing in different directions trying to make sense of what had happened. When the session finally mercifully ended, I did something stupid. I approached Riley. Hey, I said, and my voice cracked. Can I ask you something? Riley looked up from packing her datapad. Sure. What's up? What's up? Like this was normal. Like she had not just redefined everyone's understanding of human capabilities. That thing you did. I started, gesturing vaguely. With the knife, and the speed, and the whole, everything. Is that normal? For humans? Riley tilted her head, considering. Define normal. Can all humans do that? Disarm someone? She shrugged. Most of us, yeah. I mean, not everyone takes self-defense training, but it is pretty common. Recommended, even. Earth is not exactly safe, so parents usually make sure their kids know how to handle themselves. Kids, I repeated. You said kids learn this? Starting around 6. Yeah. Earlier if you grow up in certain areas. She saw my expression, which must have been pure horror, because she laughed. Oh man, you should see your face right now. All four of your eyes are doing that wide thing. 6-year-olds, I said slowly. 6-year-old humans can fight. Well, not fight. Not at 6. That is more basic stuff. Stranger danger. How to break a grab, where to hit someone if they are trying to hurt you. The fun stuff comes later. Fun, okay. Maybe not fun. Necessary. We learn it the same way you probably learned, I do not know, whatever you learn as a kid. Math. Language. Not getting eaten by local wildlife. Standard education stuff. I sat down, uninvited, in the chair next to her. My legs were not working properly. You said you know 17 ways to disarm someone. At least 17. Probably more. I stopped counting after 20. She grinned. Different techniques work on different body types, you know? What works on acrylics would not work on a Vaxian. Adaptation is key. And the knife in your backpack, I said, remembering. You actually have one. Oh yeah. Hold on. She rummaged in her bag and pulled out a small folding tool. Red casing. Multiple attachments. Swiss Army knife. Got a blade, scissors, screwdriver, bottle opener, can opener, file, tweezers, toothpick. Basically a toolbox in your pocket. Super handy. Want to see? She opened it, revealing a blade about as long as my smallest finger. Tiny. Practically harmless. And yet she had called it a knife. The same word she had used for Thalken's ceremonial weapon. That is a knife? I asked. Yep. I mean, it is a small one. My brother has one that is about 7 inches. Uses it for camping. My mom has a whole set in the kitchen. Different sizes for different jobs. Chopping, slicing, dicing, filleting. You need the right tool for the right job. Your mother has multiple knives. Well, yeah. How else would she cook? Riley looked genuinely confused. Wait, do Quilarians not use knives? We use cutting implements, I said carefully, but they are controlled, registered. You do not just have them in your home. Ha. Riley processed this. That must make cooking really annoying. What do you do, like communal cutting facilities or something? We have tools designed for food preparation that are not classified as weapons. But knives are not weapons, Riley said. I mean, they can be used as weapons. Sure, but so can a rock, or a chair, or a fork, if you are creative enough. Anything is a weapon if you try hard enough. The knife is just a tool, super useful tool, one of humanity's oldest inventions actually. We have been making knives for like 2 million years. 2 million years. Humans had been making blades for 2 million years, and they gave them to children, and kept them in their kitchens, and carried them in their pockets. What kind of Deathworld produces a species that thinks like that? You look like you are having a moment, Riley observed, folding her knife back up and tucking it away. Want me to elaborate on the whole Earth thing? Might help with the processing. Yes, I said, because apparently I was a masochist. Please. Explain Earth to me. Okay, so, Riley leaned back in her chair. Earth is a Category 12 Deathworld, right? You know this. But I do not think you really get what that means day to day. By now, a few other students had drifted closer. Jack Smorgas still clicking nervously. Prilia, humming at a lower frequency. Even Corvin and 2 of his Drexian friends, keeping their distance but clearly listening. We have spiders, Riley started. Small things, mostly. 8 legs. Make webs. Some of them have venom that can kill you. Not quickly, but enough to ruin your week. They live in houses. Our houses. We just kind of coexist with them. Sometimes we catch them and put them outside. Sometimes we leave them alone because they eat the other bugs. Venomous creatures, Prilia whispered. In your homes. And you let them stay. I mean, most spiders are harmless, Riley said. It is just the few species you have to watch out for. Brown recluse. Black widow. Sydney funnelweb if you are in Australia. But most of the time they are fine. Most of the time, I repeated. Then there are the plants. Poison ivy. Poison oak. Stinging nettles. Oleander. Castor beans. Nightshade. Touch the wrong plant on a hike, and you are covered in painful rashes for days. Eat the wrong berry and you are dead. We teach children which plants not to touch. It is basic survival stuff. Jax Morgan's clicking intensified. Your plants are poisonous, not all of them. Just enough that you need to be careful. Oh, and we have weather that can kill you. Tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, heat waves, floods, wildfires. Lightning strikes kill about 50 people a year on Earth. Just random lightning. You could be standing in the wrong place at the wrong time and boom, electrocuted by the sky. The sky attacks you, Corvin said flatly. Sometimes, yeah. Also, we have bears, and wolves, and mountain lions, and alligators, and crocodiles, and sharks, and jellyfish that can stop your heart, and snakes. So many snakes, venomous ones, constrictor ones, ones that can literally swallow you whole if you are small enough. And humans just live there, I said. Surrounded by all of this. Casually. Well, where else would we live? Riley grinned. It is our planet. We adapted. That is kind of our thing. Adaptation. Persistence. Stubbornness. We are not the fastest species, not the strongest, not the most venomous, but we are the most persistent. We do not quit. Ever. You can knock us down and we get back up. Hurt us and we heal. Try to kill us and we just get angry and figure out how to kill you first. She said it so matter-of-factly. Like she was describing weather patterns. Not the most terrifying survival strategy I had ever heard. Humans hunted animals to extinction, Riley continued. Not because we were trying to, just because we were so good at hunting that we could not stop ourselves. We chased prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting. We would just follow something for hours, days even, until it was too tired to run anymore. Then we would kill it. Eat it. Use every part of it. Nothing wasted. That is horrifying, Prilia said quietly. That is efficient, Riley corrected. And it gets better. Human endurance is insane compared to most species. We can run marathons, 26 miles, 42 kilometers. For fun. People do this for fun. Some humans run ultra-marathons, 50 miles, 100 miles. Because apparently 26 was not enough of a challenge. Why? Jax Morm asked. And it was less a question and more a plea for understanding. Because we can. Riley shrugged. Because it is there. Humans like challenges. We like pushing limits. Mount Everest, tallest mountain on Earth, literally kills people. The death zone, named that because you die if you stay too long. Thin air, freezing temperatures, avalanches, crevasses, and thousands of people have climbed it anyway. Because it is there. Because they want. I was starting to understand why humans had such a reputation in the galactic community. They were not just survivors. They were thrivers. They took hostile environments and made them home. They looked at things that could kill them and said, challenge accepted. So the knife thing, I said slowly. That is just normal for you. Because everything on your planet is worse than a knife. Pretty much. Yeah. Riley smiled. A knife is predictable, controllable, honest. It does not have venom. It does not hunt you. It does not strike from the sky. It is just a blade. Simple, clean, easy to deal with. Easy. She called disarming an armed Kralix warrior easy. And the truly terrifying part, she probably was not even bragging. For her, for humans, it really was that simple. 3 days passed before I saw Thalcon again. He was different. Not physically, though he was moving a bit stiffly, probably from the whole being put on the floor incident. No, the difference was in his entire demeanor. The swagger was gone. The constant scowl had been replaced by something approaching wariness, and when Riley walked past him in the corridor, he pressed himself against the wall and averted his eyes. Submission behavior. From a Kralix warrior to a human who barely came up to his shoulder, the story had spread, obviously. Station gossip moved faster than light speed. By the second day, every student in the academy knew what had happened. By the third day, everyone knew someone who had been there. The details got wilder with each retelling. Some versions had Riley moving so fast she turned invisible. Others claimed she had psychic powers. One particularly creative version suggested she had actually killed Thalcon, and what we were seeing now was a replacement clone. None of the versions were as terrifying as the truth. She had just been fast, and trained, and completely utterly casual about the whole thing. The human population at the academy was small. Maybe 30 students out of 2,000. Before the incident they had blended in. Unremarkable, friendly enough. Now they got space. Lots of space. Students would cross to the other side of the hallway when they saw a human coming, not out of rudeness. Out of respect. The kind of respect you give to something that could absolutely destroy you but chooses not to. I watched it happen in real time. Venik, the Prelian who had fled the classroom, now nodded nervously whenever he passed a human. The Drexian group that used to take up the entire walkway now moved aside. Even Professor Krillineth, in our next class, asked Riley if she was comfortable with her seating position. Asked her, like she was visiting royalty instead of a student who had doodled through most of his lectures. Riley, for her part, seemed completely oblivious to the shift. She still showed up to class with her data pad and her little toolbox knife. Still doodled in the margins. Still asked questions about the material with genuine curiosity. Still smiled that human smile that we all now understood was not a threat display but somehow felt more threatening anyway. I found myself watching her more than I probably should have. Not out of fear, exactly. More like morbid fascination. She would stretch in her chair and I would notice the way her muscles moved. Efficient. Controlled. She would reach for her bag and I would track the speed of the movement. Fast. Faster than it should be. She would laugh at something on her data pad and I would see her teeth. Flat teeth. Mostly. Except for those 4 sharper ones. Omnivore teeth. Predator and prey both. Deathworlder teeth. You are staring again, she said one day after class, catching me completely off guard. Sorry, I said automatically. I was just thinking about how humans are terrifying apex predators who could probably snap you in half. She said it with a grin. Joking. Except it was not really a joke because she probably could snap me in half. Something like that, I admitted. Yeah, you are not the first person to have that realization this week. She slung her bag over her shoulder. For what it is worth, we are not actually that scary. We just seem scary because your frame of reference is different. On Earth, I am completely average, probably below average in some areas. I cannot even run a 6-minute mile. A 6-minute mile. She said that like it was slow, like it was something to be embarrassed about. My top speed was maybe half that, and I would need medical attention afterward. Riley, I said carefully, I think the problem is not that we think you are scary. The problem is that you do not think you are scary, and that might be the scariest part. She paused. considered this. Shrugged. Huh, fair point. Want to grab lunch? The cafeteria is serving something that is supposed to be noodles. I am like 60% sure it will not kill me. Only 60%, and she was going to eat it anyway. Because of course she was. I followed her to the cafeteria, keeping a respectful distance. Not because I was afraid. Well, not entirely because I was afraid. More because I had learned something important over the past few days. Something that every species in the galaxy should probably know. Something that should be written in big letters on every human information packet at every spaceport and station. Humans are not malicious. They are not cruel. They are not looking for fights. They are actually quite pleasant once you get to know them. They will share their food. They will help you with your homework. They will make jokes and laugh and be genuinely kind. But they are from Earth. Category 12, Deathworld, where everything wants to kill them and they learn to kill back, where they gave knives to children and taught them 17 ways to disarm an attacker before they hit puberty, where they ran for fun and climbed mountains that killed them and looked at venomous spiders and said, "Sure, you can live in my house." They are nice. Right up until they are not. And when they are not, it happens so fast you will not even see it coming. So here is my advice. Free of charge. Learn the hard way through observation and mild trauma. If you ever find yourself in a room with a human, be polite, be respectful, be kind, and for the love of all that is sacred in the void of space, do not ever, under any circumstances, no matter how tough you think you are or how much honor demands it, do not ever pull a knife on them, because they will smile. They will take it away from you, and they will do it so casually, so effortlessly, so completely without concern, that you will spend the rest of your life wondering what else they are capable of. And trust me, you do not want to know. Some questions are better left unanswered. Some mysteries are better left unexplored. Some species are better left unthreatened. Humans are definitely one of them. Humanity wasn't dangerous because it sought conflict. It was dangerous because it had learned how to survive anything that found it.